All right. Welcome back. We're on to a brand new slate of episodes here. Pioneers and Builders in Jacksonville, PB and Jax for short. Very honored, very lucky, very happy that we have Joell Arnold here with us today.
Hello.
Joell, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Randall. I appreciate you.
Oh man, you're very welcome. I always thought that this would be a good fit for us because you've been in Jacksonville your whole life and you've done a lot of pioneering and you've done a lot of building. So it seems like this is a really good opportunity for us to talk about all the things that you have going on and get the word out to see the great work that you're doing. Let others at least see it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. So for anybody who doesn't know, entrepreneur, business owner, consultant, podcaster, you're a visionary. You got a lot going on. I guess question number one, how do you keep it together? How do you keep the calendar flowing? How do you make time for these things?
I make time, honestly, Randall, because I have made such a pivot in my life to do things that fulfill me. And that is not how I have always lived my life. I lived a lot of it in like a hamster wheel, is what I call it, when you're just going, and you're doing things just to do them. And so, in making a pivot to doing things that truly fulfill me and like fill me up, then the calendar seems to always work itself out in a way. Now, of course, there's action needed from me, but I find that opportunities come a lot easier when I allow as opposed to force. So I just kind of I go with the flow. I use intention and I focus, and I think that that helps me kind of bring in opportunities, and then I know what fits and feels right.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I'm glad that you're living that way. At what point did you make this pivot? I mean, it seems like it was an important part of your life. So you went from hamster wheel to intention.
Yes.
How did that come to be? What was like the defining moment?
I like to call it when life started lifing. And so that defining moment for me was 2021. I lost my mother to cancer, who was like my best friend in the entire world. I call her my eternal bestie. I always used to call her that. So as an only child, I was close to her and she transitioned. And probably within about a year and a half after that, I lost my dad. So I lost both my parents and my foundation. And something about dealing with massive grief. I feel like when you're dealing with massive grief, you have a choice. You can let it consume you and completely debilitate you, or you can choose to kind of ground yourself in it and use that power and that purpose to analyze everything about your life and let it really propel you into something different, because you start questioning everything about yourself. And so that's what happened to me. I took those moments of really, really deep darkness to find purpose and power in that. And I think that really changed my mindset and how I moved in my day-to-day life, because I had to kind of rebirth myself in a way.
I'm no stranger to grief, and especially on the mom front. So I'm sorry that happened to you. Unfortunately, I empathize. And no, you're right. That is not fun. And you're right. There are two directions to go.
Absolutely.
You can let it beat you up like it already is, or you can do a little fighting back and channel that energy. It seems like you did the latter. So congratulations on
Thank you.
making that pivot. As you were talking, it made me think of something that I have a really good friend whose dad fought in Vietnam, and his platoon was getting absolutely blasted by Vietnamese soldiers, and they were dying left and right. And his dad, who made it out, said, in that moment, I don't know what it was. It was this gut check that I can either run towards God or run away from God. And I thought that only one of those options kept me on earth, and it was to run towards God. So it seemed like just in that moment, just what you were saying there with this pivot, because of such a big life event, just like him, it just the synergies of making the decision to pivot towards something that was positive and productive served you both some kind of purpose.
Absolutely. And there's so much strength in that, to be able to be faced with defining moments like that and make that choice to pull power from it is such a defining moment. And I feel like can just make up who you are as a person. And if you can ground yourself in that, then you have the strength to move through everything else that life brings at you, because it will. And if you stay grounded in that, it really can be your North Star. So kudos to your friend's dad as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As it pertains to being grounded, for even myself and others, I feel like that term's used a lot. What does
Hmm.
it mean? Like, just to be grounded in it? It's one thing to, you know, not get too far ahead of yourself or to not let the past define you so much, but, staying present and staying grounded. Is there a different definition that you would use about what that particularly means?
I think for me, staying grounded is always understanding your why. And I think it is, to your point, it is so easy to be like, stay present, stay present. You hear that all the time,
All
but
the time.
all the time, right? It's like so overused. But I think with respect to staying grounded is just knowing your why and keeping that as your North Star. I think as people, we deal with so much stuff. There are so many things, especially as an entrepreneur, you're dealing with just yourself, trying to put yourself in this new space and this journey. You're building something from scratch. Even people that are not entrepreneurs, that are just going through life, it's so easy to get sidetracked and knocked off your course. You're focused on stuff in the future. You're riddled with anxiety. You're focused on stuff in the past. You're depressed. But when you stay, quote unquote, grounded in your why I do this, why I get up every day, that's kind of how I relate groundedness, is just really staying concrete in the why.
Seems fair. Seems valid. I saw something or read something the other day that helps me with this a little bit, which is to follow the plan, not your mood.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Every day we wake up feeling a little bit different. And especially for those who are going through grief,
Yes.
specifically, no 2 days are the same. None.
No. No.
So making sure the North Star thing is just such a perfect analogy, because it's like, okay, this is where we said we wanted to go.
Yeah. We chose this.
And it's not going to be a straight line to get there. So we have to know that.
Absolutely.
So your North Star is, your parents have kind of rooted you in this major life pivot. Now we have started Zenhergy Group.
Yes.
Um, I would love to know more about why, like, where was the aha moment? Like, hey, I really want to start this company. And then obviously, V, for everybody paying attention today, what what is it? What do you do? What is Zenhergy Group?
Absolutely. So let's take the first one. So the why. So I feel like my entire life kind of prepared me for the work that I do now that I can look back in hindsight. So my why is really, I've always had this kind of like burning desire and curiosity about the mind, how it works, why people think the way they do. I got a psychology degree. I had a minor in sociology. I've always been just very consumed with the reason why people do what they do. So I took a little, to your point, nothing's a straight line. So I got off track. I got pulled out of college into corporate America, started doing something completely different than what my actual passion was. And I did good at it. But I feel like when you're comfortable in something and you have kind of mastered it, so to speak, if you are not walking in your passion, that still kind of, that flame burns brighter and brighter when you're just kind of going through the motions. And that's what happened with me. So I actually started the LLC and created Zenhergy Group a while ago, like 2019. So when I was still kind of in the corporate America tract, doing my thing, it was always something I wanted to do. I started it, but never really touched it because I was fighting that burn. I was like, no, I'm too busy. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So I kept putting it off. And then in 2021, and life started lifing, and I started that reevaluation of everything. It really drew me into like, what are you really doing? Like, how much time do you have left? How could you serve your real purpose? What would your parents be proud of? I just went through all these questions, and it pointed straight to, you need to do what fills you up. And so at that point, I was hit with another transition where I had spent 20 years in corporate America, and the company that I was with was purchased, and we all kind of had a choice. Like, you're either going to kind of jump on this bandwagon over here, or you're going to go and do your own thing. And so I kind of chose to do my own thing. And from there, I started putting more focus on Zenhergy. And I made the main thing at that point. So that's kind of how it came to be in terms of it started a while ago, which I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs kind of feel me on that. You know, we have these ideas and we put things to the side and we don't get back to it. But life has a way of bringing you back to what you're supposed to be doing. And that is exactly what happened with me.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. I noticed, we've talked about this, but I've noticed from your TikTok content, which I discovered organically, by the way.
Love that for us.
Yeah. For us, for sure. And I'm going to touch on that here in a bit because it's really good. And I want people to like navigate towards your TikTok page and start paying attention to it. So we understand the purpose, but
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? I mean, and I know there's kind of different elements to it, but Zenhergy Group as a whole, kind of walk us through it all.
So, Zenhergy Group as a whole is a mindset coaching company. And I get a lot of questions when I explain that. People are like, well, what's mindset? What's mindset coaching? And mindset is truly the set of beliefs that you have that shape how you view the world, how you interact, how you perceive everything, how you behave. And what I think inspired me to start calling Zenhergy a mindset coaching company is where I feel like my gifts are is helping people bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And that starts with your mindset. It starts with what you believe. It starts with what you think, and that dictates how you behave. And so with Zenhergy, it's really about coaching women and helping them be able to achieve their goals in areas that they feel stuck. Because typically, if you've been trying to do something, trying to achieve something, you've had something, a goal that you really, really wanted to accomplish and you haven't been able to do it, there's something at the core of that. There's a belief, there's a mindset that needs to be tweaked. So Zenhergy is basically a mindset coaching company for women. So I do one-on-one coaching. Love doing my group coaching. I have 2 women's group coaching programs that I run for different ages, one for 35 and up, one from 21 to 34. And then let's see, what else do I do? Courses. So I just started launching courses. I have a lot of passion there. I love to create things for people to learn and to be able to teach what I have learned over the last decade of just doing my own research and living my own life. So between coaching, community, and group coaching, that's what Zenhergy does.
And content creation.
And content creation, that's all a part of it. And it's funny that I love that you organically found my TikTok. I struggled with that. I struggled with visibility. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs can feel me on that with just, it's one thing to have a passion to want to help people and to be able to pour into someone, but then putting yourself in front of a camera and really putting yourself out there was a struggle for me, but it's something that I'm pushing through because I have to focus on the impact that I'm making and the inspiration that I want to be for others. So I
Yeah,
love that you love
I,
that.
I love it too. I want to talk about the content. I'm very rudely pulling up my phone, but I want to get this right. So, because I saw something the other day. So it said, just make it exist first. You can make it good later.
Mm,
And I've struggled with that with the podcast. Most people don't know this. I don't mind sharing it here. You're being vulnerable. I'll be vulnerable. I recorded the first 6 episodes of PB and Jax last March. I didn't post the first one until October.
mm,
And it was exactly that. I was like, it has to be perfect. I need people to look at me and say like, okay, like he's got a podcast. He's not just another one. I don't know. It was just so important to me. So you sharing that about your TikTok page, it resonates with me. I know it's going to resonate with other entrepreneurs, but I'm in the same boat. But I found that and it was like, make it exist. And I don't know why it took that to get me to like
oh,
frame
yeah,
of mind this thing, but it did. And
absolutely.
if you look at the first episode with Jordan and you look at, what we're doing today, it's gotten better. We've made tweaks and I know the audience has noticed, but same thing with your TikTok. I'm glad that you took the leap and I'll stay there for a second because there was 2 things about the content that struck me. One was, you made a post recently that said, when you're healed when you start to set boundaries.
Hmm.
For people who, this is, healing's a buzzword in 2025. It used to not be, but it's very trauma, but trauma, healing. What's the other one? Narcissism. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that are floating in 2025 that really didn't used to be like that. What is healing? Like if somebody's going through a trauma experience and they're rebuilding, they're retooling, they're putting in the work to kind of repair the damage that's been done to them. What does that journey look like, and how can people, outside of the fact that they're effectively setting boundaries, how can people start to realize and notice that they're on their healing path?
Hmm. So I think healing can look different for different people, but I think of healing as, to your point, you're repairing the damage. So there's so many, I call them gaps, which is just there's a break in something in you that needs to be sewn up in a way. And healing is what does that. And some of those gaps have existed for so long. They're so unconsciously ingrained in your persona that you don't realize it. And healing, I think, is when you actually realize it and you're doing any kind of work, any kind of self work to fix those things. And I think to answer your second part of your question, how does someone know they're on a healing journey? I think personally, it's when you are triggered to death. So I say that to say, when things in you need to be healed. So let's say you have an intention and you want to build a business as an example, and you're passionate about an idea, you have something you want to do, but you find that in working on that thing, whatever it is, you're constantly triggered. Something's happening to get you upset, anxious, pissed off, mad, hurt. Those triggers are showing you parts of yourself that need to be healed in order to get you to this end version of whatever that thing is that you're trying to build. And so I feel like when to know that you're on that healing journey is to have perspective enough to say, oh my goodness, I've been hit with this, hit with that. What does all of this mean? Why am I so pissed at this? What's triggering me? It's really having the knowledge to be able to understand what's happening and know like this is coming because I need to heal it. And I'm going to take the focus and action I need to actually heal it. Then you're on your healing journey.
Yeah. Awesome answer.
Thank you.
I have a follow up. I want to get your thoughts on this. It's kind of a statement that I saw the other day. It made me think of you. Attempting to love yourself again, or attempting to teach yourself to love yourself again, by definition, is proof that you already do.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I completely agree with that. I think that a lot of times we get separated from our soul, I call it your higher self or your soul. We get separated from that because our consciously, we want to be in a rat race and do, but I think that your soul always, it loves you unconditionally. It's the version you that has always been there, kind of like how we say younger people or babies have like an old soul because it doesn't age. It's always been in there. And so when you are finding yourself needing to teach yourself how to love you again, meaning, and they're saying you already do, it's because you do love yourself unconditionally. You were built that way. But sometimes life will take you down a path that separates you from that. And it's really just your soul calling you back to you. It wants to be back connected and repaired, and it wants to be whole with you as a conscious being. Hopefully that makes sense.
Makes all the sense in the world. On this path, on this exact topic, reverting back to your TikTok, you give a lot of nuggets like that in short bursts, short form content of things that just resonate and they mean, or they just make sense to me. And I remember watching it and I was like, Zenhergy Group. And I'm watching the content. I'm like, I'm almost a 40-year-old dude. And like, this is like
It's hit.
hitting me. So I know that Zenhergy Group was founded on the principle that you were going to do mindset coaching for women in different age demographics. But is it fair to say that there's some Zenhergy Group in there?
That, Randall. Yes, absolutely. I am a big proponent of my business is geared towards women because I am a woman. And so I always feel like you are best to serve the person that you are or that you once were. And so my heart, I think, wants to speak to women so much because I understand how we are. But my message is completely, I mean, it's a species thing. It has nothing to do with gender, truly, race, creed, or culture. It is about a human thing. It's the human condition. So if a male resonates with it, I am all about it. I actually have male coaching clients. At the moment, I have more of those than women's, believe it or not. So I completely understand how it could resonate. Yeah, I completely understand that. And I'm open to that. I think even on my podcast, I'm allowed to get, I have it set up where I can get text messages from people about how they thought about the episode, how it impacted them. And I get a lot of text messages back from men that are saying that they resonated or this helped me. I was in a tight spot. This provided space for me to work through issues. So I love it.
Yeah. Shamelessly, one of those texts were from me once upon a time. I was watching TikTok and I said, my goodness, this has got me.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. The for Zenhergy, the vertical, two questions. Number one, do you solely work with Jacksonville based clients?
No, I don't. So a lot of my coaching is done, my group coaching is done on Zoom. And so I actually do get a lot of people from different states. The one that I just recently wrapped, I had people from North Carolina, Georgia, and gosh, Atlanta, all kinds of places. So no, it is not just Jacksonville, but my coaching clients, especially ones that want to interact in person, are here mostly. So yeah.
Well, okay. No, that's great. So Jacksonville based business, but not just a Jacksonville presence. We can go
Correct.
out as far as we need to.
We can.
Okay. Okay. You said something, you were talking about podcasting. I know that that's a big part of what you do. I know that that's a big part of your strategy in 2025. What what are you hoping to, is this an extension of Zenhergy Group? Is this you trying to get the word out in just a different form of media? Is this an outlet for you? Or is there something else about the podcast? And what kind of audience is the target audience for the podcast?
So, my podcast is really an extension of Zenhergy, but I wouldn't say really trying to get the word out. I started it really, to your point, as an outlet. And what I love about it is that it's really my opportunity to quote unquote teach, because Instagram, TikTok, people scrolling, to your point earlier, those are short bits of information. But when you're podcasting, you are able to truly dig into things, and you know that if someone is actually listening to that, they're spending an hour of their time or 20 minutes of their time. They want the information. They are not just scrolling for a short bit. So I love that. And it gives me really a time to be able to like get into some long form content and teach things that are very near and dear to my heart. I know we were talking about this earlier. A lot of the things that I write podcast episodes about are things that I'm actually dealing with myself. And as I'm journaling and working through my own self development, I'm like, oh my gosh, so many people could benefit from this. I'm going to put this out, just put myself out there and talk about it on the podcast. My ideal podcast listener is really someone who is self-aware enough to know that they need guidance on things, and they are open to different holistic ways of learning, healing, and working on themselves. And so if you have a hunger to better yourself and you're open to different ways of doing it, then my podcast is definitely for you.
Yes. What about, is that the same kind of target market that should venture to you for Zenhergy coaching or consulting as well? Is that the market of folks? Is there synergies? Probably the best way to
There,
ask that.
there are some synergies. I think with the only slight difference there in terms of like the product suite of what I offer with Zenhergy specifically versus Vibrate Higher, the podcast, is for Zenhergy, I am locked in on helping people kind of who are dealing with things. So it's ambitious driven women who are wanting more out of their life. Maybe they're wanting more out of their career. It's women who are going through a personal upheaval, like we talked about earlier. Maybe they're dealing with a huge loss. They're grieving something and they just want to come out on the other side okay. That's really my target audience for my Zenhergy Group product suite of things. Vibrate Higher, there is a synergy in the sense that the Zenhergy woman knows that she needs help and she's thirsty to develop herself. But the Vibrate Higher is, yes, you need the help, but there's so many there's like a wide gamut of topics. It may not just be about resilience. How do I come out of this unscathed. It could be all kind of things that we talk about on Vibrate Higher. Hopefully that answered the question.
It did. It did. So we have Zenhergy Group, Vibrate Higher, and now we have a course that
Do
we're about to be putting out, and that has a pretty fun name as well. Can you share the name and what the course is going to be aimed to achieve, and who should be looking out for it?
Absolutely. So I just launched a course called Unshaken. And I was so inspired to write it because, like I just explained, there were so many things I was dealing with being an entrepreneur, taking this huge pivot, trying to grasp my hands around like the new normal and pull everything I can out of myself to continue to build this business. I was thinking through looking back at the last 2 or 3 years of my life, like, gosh, like how did you do this? And how could you help other people do it? And so I came up with this 3-part formula that Unshaken is really walking you through. And it's really how to overcome anything, how to take life's challenges and come out unscathed. I have journal prompts in there. I have a little handy dandy guide. I mean, it's videos. So I'm very excited about it. And it's not even about women like we were talked about earlier. It's anybody who is going through something and you're in the middle of it and you are trying to figure out how the heck am I going to get through it and just be okay. Unshaken is walking you through how to build up that muscle to where you're able to deal with things and be unshaken.
And I assume at their own pace.
Absolutely. It's all
Yeah.
at your own pace.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's great. I've long told you, I think the names you come up with are incredible too. They're powerful, unshaken. And I
Mhm.
mean, that invokes emotion. Like, I'm unbeatable,
Yeah.
invincible.
It is. It's that confidence. It's I can
Yeah.
handle what life throws at me because it's going to throw things. Things are going to be thrown. And it's all about how you can get through it. And it's a formula that you can continually apply, and it can fit in different arenas because I've used it in different arenas. So
Yeah. Listen, I'm excited. I'm going to look this up and I'm going to make sure it's in the show notes so that everybody can kind of navigate towards it.
absolutely.
I am kind of interested between the three. So between Unshaken, Vibrate Higher, and then Zenhergy, which is the umbrella in which all this fits under. You've been doing this for which 2025, so we're in the 4th year. What's I assume that we have a success story or two that keeps you excited, keeps you going, and makes you realize that you're making a deep impact on somebody. You don't have to share names, but is there a story that we can tell in terms of where somebody was and then they met with you and they came out on the other side and now they're just thriving?
Absolutely. So I have one of my recent success stories. So I had a woman who I want to say she may be, I don't want to call her age wrong. She may be in her early 60s. She was in one of my group coaching programs and she ended up becoming one of my clients, my one-on-one coaching. And when we first started working together, she had lost her husband. She was dealing with immense amount of grief. She was dealing with a career change and she was at that point in grieving her husband's loss where it wasn't like yesterday. It was probably like a year after. So she was grieving, but also wanting to maybe get out there, maybe start dating, not really knowing where to start, where to go. And every time she thought about dating again, she would get completely emotional. So we worked together, we got her on track, and I literally just texted with her last week. She is dating again. She is happy. She is thriving. I know she settled into a new job. We got her kind of focused on that. So she's thriving at this point and it's such a good that's why I do what I do. It makes me feel so good to know that I have that type of impact and that, you know, the things that I believe about my message and my products is true. And that's important as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, she's living her best life,
She
is what she's
is.
doing.
I'm so proud of her. So
I'm proud of you for helping her get there.
thank you.
Of course, in that journey, it's like I would consider it to be like a weight loss journey. Like, you could eat well and go to the gym for a week and look at the mirror and you're not going to see a difference. And in healing, you can work your ass off for a whole week, say all the right things, be kind to yourself, give yourself all the grace, do all the healing things, show up for yourself, everything, and not feel the next week that you've made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
For you as the coach and guiding them through that, how important is it for you to share with them, or at least hold a mirror up and say, listen, like, when you came to me, this was what we were talking about. These were the conversations we were having. These are now the conversations we're having. There's a complete difference in the topics and the way we're approaching them and the way you talk to yourself now versus then. You just can't see it because it's incremental.
Yeah.
How big of a part does that play in as a coach of these women who are looking to transform themselves back to just feeling okay again?
It's a huge part. And we as humans in general, we are so hard on ourselves. I mean, we really are. The negative self talk, just all of the things we pile on ourselves. So when you add any sort of trauma to that or huge transition to that, it's so heavy. And so it's a big part of me being able to say, even look at the little steps, making little promises to yourself and you kept it, you did a good job. It's just reinforcing that they're on the right path and that they're doing the right thing. I think that's huge in your personal development. One, because it allows you to be able to retrain your subconscious mind to know that, like, I set out to do this and I actually did it. Those little promises that you keep to yourself, it really trains you to kind of get rid of like that self-doubt, and it gives you that perspective that, like, I actually can do this. I can do what I say I'm going to do. I think that's huge. So yes, my job as a coach is to absolutely celebrate those wins, big and small.
Yep. That's great. In the context of showing up for yourself, we have pretty much said on in many different ways at this point that being an entrepreneur is very difficult. And I'm sure that once you got Zenhergy Group off the ground, you probably hit an inflection point, or there was a point when it got incredibly difficult. It doesn't just have to be client acquisition either. I don't think people realize how difficult this can be in terms of keeping the operations straight, keeping the taxes straight, keeping the focus on your clients, making sure that you're being properly funded, that you don't go out of business. And I could go on for days. We talk to entrepreneurs all the time at PS27, which I'm excited to get into here in a second. But for you, at what point did you kind of hit that wall, and what did you do to get past it?
Randall, I feel like I hit that wall every other day. But truly, I think, oh man, I hit that wall when I was really trying to figure out how I'm going to scale this. Like, there's one-on-one coaching. You only have so many hours in the day. And then it's like branching it out into something bigger. And I think in addition to all of the things that you named, I always like to tell my entrepreneurs, like, entrepreneurship is a self development journey. It truly is. And you have to work on yourself because your output is only going to be as good as your belief in yourself. And so I think my big wall I hit was like, I'm not going to be able to scale this. What am I going to do with it? It's questioning all of these things. How am I going to continue to make the money to keep it funded, to your point? And it's getting out of my own way and allowing the ideas, the thoughts, the opportunities to come to me. And they did. And they continue to. And so I think it's I did hit a wall, and it really was in building it out, but I had to practice what I preach. I always say that I am a product of my product. And so it's learning how to lean in and learning how to get out of my own way, how to stop self-sabotaging, how to stop the self-doubt. And when you can focus on that, you'd be surprised the things that open up for you because they're truly already there. You were called to build and do whatever you were doing as an entrepreneur anyway. So those opportunities are there. They're knocking at your door. But when you are focused on, when you're overwhelmed and you let that weigh on you, you can't see them.
So your answer kind of correlates to this quote I have from this amazing person. I serve the person I was and the person I want to be. Who said that?
I said that.
You did say that. That quote's from Joell Arnold.
That.
Yeah, it seems like you embody and live your message, which is so freaking refreshing
Thank
to
you.
see somebody not just out here hawking, popular quips
Development.
and trying to unroll courses on people. They actually, every day, we've talked about this, every day you specifically show up for yourself in a variety of ways in order to make sure that you're serving your clients the best way possible. So your answer was great, but I wanted to make sure that we put some shine on you for
Thank you.
the amazing work you do on yourself. So Zenhergy Group, podcast, course,
Yeah.
TikTok. consultant.
Yes.
I know that we consult, we as in you, for PS27, and I'm certainly going to peel back that onion. But is there any other consulting work you do? And going back to probably my first question, how in the world do you fit it in?
So I actually love the consulting work that I do, and I still grounds me in bringing self awareness and self development to organizations, to leaders, to teams. And so any consulting that I do, it's always typically high performance coaching. It's coaching leaders and teams towards a goal. And I think that drawing on my corporate roots, I have 20-year experience in corporate America, a lot of it in senior leadership, knowing how to lead people successfully, knowing how to successfully lead high performing teams, I think is another thing that kind of correlates to what I'm doing when I said earlier, my entire life kind of prepared me for this. So for the consulting piece, it's executive coaching and high performance coaching are really the two that I focus on. I also do a lot of times, I do workshop facilitation and like leadership coaching for groups and teams.
And how many of those clients are you sitting on right now?
Right now, we're sitting at about 4.
I still don't know how you do it. You can
Yeah,
answer this question 5 different ways. It's still not gonna like digest
all
in my
connect.
mind.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And the reason I say that now, I'm excited and ready to unroll this PS27 stuff. I can't tell you how many times we've been on these meetings and I've texted you in the middle of them, and I'm like, "How the hell are you keeping track of this?"
Absolutely.
These people, 8 people talking at once with their thoughts that they haven't even put together yet. They're just word vomiting like crazy. We get on the other end of this meeting, I have an email from Joell that's like perfectly structured. This is what this person said. That's what this person said. This is what we're going to do next. Blah, blah, blah. It is curated perfectly.
Thank you.
Yeah. How the hell? I
I know.
mean, like,
It,
I text you all the time, how the hell? But like, how the hell?
it honestly tying it back to what we talked about earlier about the North Star. So we were talking about that in the bigger picture of like someone's life or someone working through a transition. But in corporate consulting and type the kind of work I do for PS27, there's still a North Star. And so my role as a coach there is to always keep that North Star in mind. And so I always have to have that perspective going into every meeting, no matter how big or small. And that helps me pull all the things in, keep everybody on track, organize notes, because I never forget about what the bigger picture is. There are initiatives, there are things we're set out to do. And that's what I'm there for, to keep us all kind of in lockstep with that. And so while you as a board member, you're coming in, everyone has a ton of stuff they're doing on a daily basis. And they're like, whoo, okay, next meeting here, you're throwing out your ideas. That is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. My job is North Star. How are we moving towards that North Star? So I think when you put it into perspective like that, hopefully that makes it easier on how I can, piece through all that big ball of yarn that comes out of all of our amazing productive meetings. But yeah.
Most of them are amazing. Yes, I agree. There's some where I'm like,
Like,
oh,
what?
man, boy, good
Well, it's
luck, Joel.
people, it's people. That's what that, but I love that. It's different people. It's how you think. It's everyone has their own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and please don't let what I said get twisted. I love PS27. I love everything about what we do. I love the people that are a part of it.
Me too.
We've got some real fun stuff from all the word vomit and the ball of yarn that we threw out the past couple months. We have some really cool stuff coming in
Me too.
2025, and I'm so excited about it. What's your favorite part about being part of PS27? I know we do this think big, start small kind of approach. I know the entire reason we're in the game is to help entrepreneurs get off the ground, and we're on the foundation side, so we're doing a lot of work with programs and different companies, and we're really trying to make a heavy push here in Jacksonville, and we're doing so much stuff. So when you kind of lay it all out on the table and you look at it, what would you say kind of resonates with you the most about being a part of what we're doing?
Oh, man, aside from the amazing work and what we're trying to accomplish, it's you guys. It's truly all of you. It's the culture and the climate that PS27 has created. And on the foundation side, it's being able to work with so many bright, brilliant minds who have such a genuine passion to actually make an impact locally. That's exciting to be around that type of energy. And I think that's probably my favorite part. And honestly, I felt that from day one when I was first called in to do a board facilitation retreat for PS27. And I felt that energy. It just felt like somewhere I wanted to be. It felt very familiar, like home. And it's always felt like that. So as we bring on new board members, it's just the synergy there is unmatched. And that's probably my favorite part. So when you get all these brilliant people together who have such a passion and such great ideas, and then we're working towards something and working together, that's a win-win.
I agree. Speaking of win-wins, PS27, big passion. Think Bold, big passion. And we're now going to marry the two of those this year. What Troy and Mo are doing to just make Jacksonville better, what Jim Stallings is doing to make Jacksonville better, and to bring those two together to make a larger impact, to me was probably one of the coolest moments of the year so far to get that done. Do you intend on being a part of Think Bold this year? Is that something that's on your radar? I don't want to put you on the spot, but just kind of as a loose dialogue about great things Jacksonville's doing, figure we bring it up.
Yes, I absolutely intend to. This will be my first time attending. I'm excited about it though, because we need that locally. We need to we need to come together as a community. We need more support for small businesses, for entrepreneurs. So I'm excited about it. I do plan on being in attendance, and it probably won't be the last. Now that I understand the minds behind it, like to your point, Troy and Mo, and being able to meet with them and really see why they do what they do, it's something I'm excited to be a part of. So yes, I will be in attendance this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. I don't want to spill the beans on the other two yet, the other two events, because I'm not sure where we are yet on process, but I do know that we've buttoned up the Think Bold PS27 partnership, and I'm obviously very excited about it. As you know, this is a Jacksonville podcast.
Yes.
It's in the name. So I ask everybody two questions, especially the entrepreneurs. I'll start with the positive. What is Jacksonville doing well for our small business owners, our entrepreneurs, our people who are trying to improve the city, people who are trying to build an amazing ecosystem? They're trying to build an amazing local economy. I mean, what would you say we're doing incredibly well? And what we should keep, I should say.
I think what we should keep and what we're doing well is we are allowing space for things like Think Bold, events like what PS27 Foundation puts on. Like, we're allowing space for that. And I feel like there are a lot of people, powers that be, so to speak, that get behind that and support it. And so I think that we need to keep that. We need to keep the city behind the events and the organizations that bring light to it. And when I say light, I mean spirit, I mean forward movement, that type of light. And so the fact that I don't feel like it's a city divided when it comes to that, I feel like it's very inclusive and supportive. And I think that we need to keep that.
Okay. You know where this is going.
I do.
What can we do better?
I think what we can do better is reaching out to the local entrepreneurs. I don't know what the stats are. I wish that I did. The amount of people that are truly entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. And I feel like Jacksonville has resources, but we don't know what they are. And so I feel like there could be a better outreach, because the well of things is there. There's the chamber, there's programs like JSEB, all of those things are there, but I don't know that the average entrepreneur knows that. So I feel like there could be better outreach and better education for local entrepreneurs to help bring them in the fold, no matter what the business is, because it creates a community, and that's important.
Yes, it is. Your answers are going to put me on a soapbox for a second, so bear with me. Number one, you're talking about JSEB. So JSEB's Jacksonville Small and Emerging Business vertical within the city of Jacksonville some stats, because what you said is 100% factual. Great program. Not sure we're getting the word out. There are 27,000 registered small businesses in Jacksonville, Florida. There are 400 certified JSIP
Mm,
businesses.
mm, mm, mm. Yep, the data does not lie.
Anybody who's super interested in JSIP, episode 2 was with Gregory Grant, and he talks about the fact that they're giving away $1 million. That's in the budget to give away $1 million every year. When they give away the money, they'll do low interest loans, so you don't have to go through the bank. Like, the support ecosystem's there.
Yep.
And then for every city contract, JEA, JTA, JAA, Jacksport, City of Jacks, every city contract that goes out, 20% of those contracts have to be awarded to JSIB certified businesses. So by not getting JSIB certified, you are officially, unquestionably leaving money on the table.
Absolutely.
And you don't graduate from JSIB until you've reached 3 consecutive years of $12 million in revenue. So by the time you get out on the other side of the program, you are a humming business.
Yeah.
So I agree wholeheartedly. We need to get the word out more, and people need to become more aware of it. The other thing that you talked about is this ecosystem, or these solopreneurs. Episode 3 was with J Dash, and J Dash said, so I asked him the same questions I asked you and everybody. And he said, you would be surprised to know that in Jacksonville, everything already exists. You just have to let it uncover itself. And I'm not sure I knew what that meant. But 2 weeks ago, I had lunch with a gentleman who I was introduced to. And we had lunch, and I was like, tell me your story. Long story short, he has 3 off the ground businesses. And 2 of them are startups. One of them he's owned for is not a startup. He's owned for 15 years, but the other 2 are startups. And he just received a $500,000 capital grant from a company in Buffalo, New York, because he couldn't get it from Jacksonville. And nobody knows who he is. And I guarantee you there are thousands of him in
Absolutely.
Jacksonville. We have done such a focus on bringing people here, bringing companies here. And I want them to do that. We have the land for it. Bring them on. But holy crap, I don't think we know what's in our backyard.
We haven't even tapped into our reservoir. We haven't. So I completely agree.
Yeah. So I know I asked you the question, but you said some things that touched my heart a little bit. I felt compelled to say something.
Good.
Is there anything that you're doing right now that we haven't touched on that is important for me to know, for the people to know, or are you tapped out?
No, I think that we covered the big stuff. I think most importantly, what I'm doing is I want my tribe to know that I'm here. And I think I want everyone to know that I'm here, and I want you to know that, I want you to be a part of my community and be able to take advantage of what I feel my gifts and abilities are, and to help the people that resonate with me, that need to be helped in only a way that I can. So I think we touched on a lot of the big hits of what I'm doing. This community, I do have a subscription community for women. I don't think that we talked about that. It's called The Collective. So it's like a monthly membership. It's $10 a month, and it's basically a space where you're kind of brought into the fold. You're connecting with like-minded women. It's all done online. You have access to trainings that I put out at a discounted price. Some of them are free. We jump on and do weekly live sessions. So that's probably the only other thing that I'm doing that we haven't really touched on.
You and these names, collective, unshaken, vibrate higher, you
Mhm.
are piercing the soul of the human being. You know that?
Listen, I try, Randall. I really do. I often joke with a lot of my friends that are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. It's like you have to be the marketing expert, you have to be the PR person, you have to be the content creator. So I literally come up with these names, and I hope that it puts across what I intended. So thank you for the confirmation.
Yeah, my pleasure. I want to make sure that we put this in the show notes, but where can we find everything? Is it everything? If everybody goes to Zenhergy Group, are they going to find links to all the Subsect things, or are there different places for people to go?
I will put my link in. I'll give it to you, Randall, so that there is one link that has everything on it. It'll have the link to the Vibrate Higher podcast, a link to join the collective, a link to Unshaken that just came out. So everything will be in there.
And the TikTok.
And the TikTok is on there too. TikTok and
My favorite.
Instagram. It's I before launching my business, I was not a huge social media person. So it has truly been a struggle for me with visibility to be able to get out there, like I said earlier. But please follow me on social. I absolutely would love that as I try and build this community. I don't have a ton of followers, and I don't want it to just be like a follow just to follow because you resonate with what I am saying. I always say this: you don't just hear the truth, you feel the truth. So the things that I talked about today, if any of that hit you, if it resonated with you, then I'm your girl. Follow me, you're going to get something out of this.
Yeah, I'll take it one step further. If you want to work with somebody who's doing the work that they're preaching on their own
Thank
selves,
you.
Joell Arnold is your girl.
Appreciate that. It's facts.
Yeah, it is. Joell, thank you for being a part of my silly little podcast here. I am so enamored by what we're doing here at PB and Jax, but I'm so enamored by what you're doing. And to me, this made so much sense in the world. I'm so grateful you came here today, and I'm so grateful to get this message out to as many people as we can.
I appreciate you for having me, Randall. And thank you for creating the space with PB and Jax. Thank you for creating the space for local entrepreneurs to be able to come on. And, it's not like you have to have there's not a certain criteria where it has to be a certain amount of revenue. It's just so organic. And that's such a testament to who you are. So I just want to say thank you for being you and following your purpose to connect us and put us on display so that we can find the people that need to find us. And I appreciate you for that.
Thank you. You literally touched on everything as to why I started this. So thank you for saying that. It means a lot. Yeah, I cannot wait to see where we are in a year,
Me too.
3 years, 5 years, and how we're connecting people who are doing amazing things to one another through this medium. So bottom
Absolutely.
of my heart, thank you.
Thank you.
All
It's
right.
been a
Well,
pleasure.
absolutely.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.